All right. Appreciate it. So, um, let's go through the module I created, PSDates. Uh, just really, it's a collection of different date, time functions, things that I've had to deal with throughout my career. So I decided to put them all together in a module. So just real quick, for those of you met Matthew Dowst, I'm a principal consultant at Acquisitive and managed automation architect, uh, working through all of our managed automation solutions. And as of last year, author of Practical Automation with PowerShell. And then my favorite job is head coach of the Lake Cities Soccer Association U9 Dragonflies. Actually, I need to change that to U10 as of now. Kids keep getting older on me. So why PSDates? This is why PSDates. There's so many different ways to do dates and times and everything, time zones. There's a million different memes out there about that you'll see. So really, it was something to make my life easier and hopefully to make your life easier as well. So go ahead and hop in here. So live demo environment. So feel free to ask questions or anything like that. Resolution on that good for everyone.
Good enough for me. I don't know about everybody else.
Good to hear.
So starting with the pretty standard one, the get date. Everyone knows and loves. All right, so one of the ones that I've added is actually get date extended, which adds some additional functionality, different kind of ways of showing the time, different calculations. So automatically getting like the first day of the year, last day of the year, start of the week, those type of things, just to be able to kind of quickly and easily get those. And see, I even set myself to Pacific time just for you guys.
Oh, thank you.
Getting the quarter, all those other fun ones, and I did correct the typo from the last time I showed this as well. We'll see if anybody else can find the typo that I have in one of the commandlets later in this that I just noticed today after I published.
It's okay. Don't worry. Be alias happy.
Yeah. So this again, it works exactly. It's just an extension of get date. So anything that you can use with get date, all the same parameters, everything, to be able to pass in different dates. So if you're I'm going to pass in a particular date or things like that, it can accept those as well. The other one very commonly uses the get date formats. All right, so this is so some of these are standard .NET formats. If you can remember what U and G and capital G and all of those are, you can kind of easily get those, get it into the format of whatever you're trying to talk to once. All right, so 24-hour time, you got your RFCs, get your ISO 8601, which we'll see pop up quite a few times today. The different ones on how SQL likes to have it formatted and things. And then just today in the newest release, I added a dash format on here, so you can actually output back the exact date that you, or the exact one that you want. Right. So if you need ISO, hit the right button. All right. I can get back just that, say that to a variable, and pass that along as I need it. Right. Again, too, it works just like with the other get dates, as you can pass in different times. Let's do 1972. Why not? All right. So there's your different date formats that you can quickly and easily get. Obviously added in some autocompletes or argument completers on here as well.
Those
So
are
again, you don't have to remember what U and G and E and all those, or build out all these custom strings. It does use the cultural tokens as well too. So the time will be whatever, or the language will be in whatever format that you're in. Another fun one that we have is the converting time zones. Right, so you can just do standard convert time zone. It's going to get whatever your local time is and your time zone that you have. You can also have it do a specific time and specify, exactly from which time zone to which time zone, and get all of that for you. Makes it nice and clean and simple. Again, added the argument completers on that in version 1.0.4 that just released again this morning. So if you've previously installed this, I highly recommend updating, because now you can have all sorts of fun trying to find your different Easter Island. That's a fun one, right? In finding your time zone. But again, make that one a little easier on you as well too, with the find time zone. All right, so I could say that I want to find Central Time. Right, there's all the different Central Times there are. There's Central Australian times, Central Pacific time. Okay, well, I want Central Time offset by 6 hours. All right, so now we have Canadian Central Time. We're whittling it down to be able to find exactly which one it is that you want, or that you need, or be able to come across this. And it's actually interesting that if you run this on a Linux machine, right, it's because it's using what's inside the system. You're going to get back a whole different set of time zones, right? So it becomes useful being able to have like the offset and the things like that built into there to be able to get that. So because Central Standard Time on a Linux box may not be spelled exactly the same way, or ID'd out exactly the same way, and being able to use that find time zone really helps you get your scripts cross compatible, right? So we can do kind of a quick lookup of what that time zone is on that particular machine without having to go back through and look through it.
Okay. Does this support the time zone names from like the TZ database, like America / Los Angeles, like those style
in
time
Linux,
zone names, or is that
it will on Linux?
Oh, okay.
So it's using what's built into the OS.
Got it.
You actually get a lot more time zones on Linux because of this. Like at least in my experience, just so many more. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it scrolls for a long time if you just run find time zone on that.
Yeah, it's 419.
Oh, yeah. Just a few. I swore we only had 24 hours in a day.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask if you had that as a validation set. And then I did a count on that, and yeah, it said 419. It's like, okay, I see why. Because I tried auto-completing the convert time, and it wasn't auto-completing. So I just made me think of that.
It will, if you install the latest version on it. I put argument completers in there. So,
okay.
If we take a look, I can show you. Where I put my argument completers. All right, so it's just doing the system time zone.
Oh, nice.
Info.
Okay.
And then it's adding that to the commands. So whatever is local on that machine is what it'll grab and do the completions for you.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. So another very useful one, which was yesterday, get past Tuesday. It's always going to get you the second Tuesday in whatever month or date that you have. Right, so I can just pass out one of the December, or if I wanted to know it for a specific date, 1 year from now. There we go. It's going to next year it's going to be on July 8th. And kind of along the lines of that is another fun one. To do some math is get Easter. Believe it or not, there's actually an equation to be able to find when Easter is going to be. And again, there's no month. You can go out many years. I believe it works through like 3,000 something. At some point, it does break, but I just retyped 25 because I don't have my numlock on.
It's okay, so it won't work in the era of Futurama, but
Yes.
Until then, we're fine.
Yep. It goes back too. It goes all the way back. This is a fun one.
What's Easter 0 AD?
Oh no.
Okay,
years only go back so far. You have to go back to the Gregorian calendar.
All right.
Let me guess the year
zero. Do years go back to 0? I thought it goes from 1 BC to 1 AD. I don't think there's a year 0.
There we go.
There we go.
Easter on the first year was a April Fool's.
The more you know. I'm not going to read too much into the theological implications of that, though. I suggest you don't either.
Fair enough. Can you do year -1? No BC.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, technically,
I guess technically there was no Easter.
I mean, yeah, sure.
The first Easter was actually 30, wasn't it?
33, yeah.
Yeah.
April 3rd.
There you go, April 3rd.
Yeah. So not April Fool's, just to re-clarify.
Good point.
Almost had us there.
So what is...
Cool feature, though.
Yeah, I'm actually really curious how you're making whole different calendars work. I wouldn't mind like a look under the hood there. I didn't know that was such a thing.
Yeah,
There's got to be a calendar then that could get me BC. There's got to be.
Yeah.
Are you using a calculation or a lookup or a?
It's a calculation.
Okay.
Okay.
So don't ask me to remember exactly how we.
I would be interested in figuring out if there's somewhere in the localization that supports that, because I mean you've got to have some calendar compatibility between, say, like Arabic or Hebrew calendars and Julian calendars. Like that's got to be in the OS somewhere.
Yeah. So the Julian is pretty straightforward. It's when you get the Gregorian, where you get the year divided by 100, where you get the floor, and then all of this.
And you respect leap years.
I mean, I thought that was part of the reason.
Because it's Julian, so that's automatically built into.
It's all figured in. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I found the equation and I converted it into PowerShell. Don't ask me to sit there and explain it out, but yeah, that's calculating cool. Out of what the Gregorian calendar would be from the Julian calendar.
Oh, cool.
Very interesting.
I really think that this is a very correct advertisement. We are going to learn more than we ever wanted to know about dates today. Thank you for making this happen, because it's a better thee than me for every one of us, I'm sure. It's like it's important to have this functionality available somewhere, but like thank you so much for writing it. Sorry.
I see you also have a Get Patch Tuesday commandlet. That sounds useful for sysadmins.
Yep. Oh. That was yesterday. bonded.
Now, the real question is, can you build a get patch Tuesday for whatever org you're in? I joke, this is an NP complete problem.
Yeah, that's we can talk about that afterwards as I'm trying to build a get holiday function. It becomes a NP who can say by which country or religion or
Well, even something like Thanksgiving is the third Thursday of the month of November. That's going to vary on what day it is.
yeah. So yeah, I've built some stuff out to be able to calculate those. Where it gets difficult is things like tax day. Like tax day is April 15th, unless April 15th falls on a Saturday, Sunday, or Monday. But if that Monday is a holiday, then it goes back to the Tuesday, and it's just, yeah, you can start getting complex. There's other ones. I think it's MLK that's the last full week of the month.
Okay.
So yeah, we can take a look at that.
I also got to
I got
say, for tax day, you got to worry about it for each locale on Earth, and that's just the United States.
Yeah.
I mean, death and taxes, right? Everybody pays them.
Mm-hmm. So, a couple other fun ones we have here. So, speaking of the ISO 8601, the get date, get duration, right? So, if anybody has worked with Graph or Cousteau or a lot of things that Microsoft's doing here lately, ARM templates use this as well, right? Your different ISO duration, 1 day, 4 hours, just kind of a quick, easy little way to create those. You can also do by weeks.
What's
So-
the P mean in front of it?
It's sort of every is the short way to put it. I have read a lot of cron documentation, and I have never gotten a perfect answer. I think it stands for period, technically,
Okay.
but that's as close as I've gotten. Scholars may disagree.
And you can also, so this is the fun one where you have to calculate the time between two different dates. All right, so now you got 1 year, 5 months, 7 days, 18 hours, 33 minutes, and 35 seconds.
But could I get that as a Roman numeral?
Oh, that'd be a fun one to build. I'll have that.
I'm suspecting somehow it might even be easier. Maybe worse,
Yeah.
though.
I'm suspecting my wife's going to be annoyed this weekend when I'm sitting in the office building Roman numerals.
Can I have it as a Roman numeral? That's just mean. Just to say that.
Hey, look, I'm just thinking of the people that need to write title cards for movies.
There you go.
Those copyright dates. They just got to be in Roman numeral form, right?
Yep.
I kid.
You know why they did that, right?
So that more people didn't get copyrights?
No. So that people didn't know how to read Roman numerals very well, quickly. So they could release a movie, and then they could re-release it like a year later in a different location, and people didn't realize that the copyright was 3 years ago. It's so people wouldn't realize the movie was stale or old.
Oh, the yesteryear of movie distribution.
We're talking in the 50s. They came up with that.
So speaking of the 1950s,
Uh-oh.
cron scheduling.
What was that?
Cron scheduling, which is, technically the 1970s, but all right. So I got quite a few little cron functions in here. All right, just one that will test whether or not it's valid, and if it's not valid, it'll actually come back and tell you, 13 is higher than the maximum allowed value for months.
Nice.
And then the get cron next occurrence will tell you from whatever time, when the next occurrence is going to be. Right, so that the next time that's going to happen is tomorrow at 5 p.m.
Oh, that is really cool.
Oh, that is nice.
Then you can also specify a start time. So, when's the next time it's going to run from this date? And then as well, you can do start time and end time. So, how many iterations am I going to have in between those two dates?
Cool.
Do you
Go ahead.
do you have an easy way to not have to go through the rigmarole to input or export epoch time? Or do you have to just do the conversion?
You mean
I was
Unix
actually
time?
looking at that too.
Convert from
Yeah, the
Unix time?
Yeah.
Got that one.
Cool.
I noticed under the hood you're using date time objects and parsing rather than the native date time offset class that has to and from Unix time seconds. Is there? I was curious if there was a reason.
Trying to avoid time zones.
Ah, okay.
So I'm just letting it use whatever the local time is, whatever the local machine time is.
Gotcha.
Cool.
Do you know how? I mean, it's probably more of a .NET question, but like, is .NET and PowerShell ready for like 2038 Unix times issues, like the rollover of the 32-bit integer epoch time stuff? Has anybody messed around with that?
Yeah, it's like in year 2036, I think.
2038, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I'd start printing my business cards for that now, considering how lucrative the year 2000 was for certain parties.
Yeah. No, but you're right. 32-bit counters roll over at that point.
Yeah.
So I know Windows itself is like what 1600, so it's fine. I don't know what they're doing about Epoch, or if they're really even using it anywhere in there other than with trying to communicate with different devices.
There's a whole bunch of APIs that are just going to fall over that are all depending on epoch time.
There's also a whole bunch of networking stuff that's going to fall over because epoch time is used in the time to live and the routing information for all networking devices for TCP/IP4.
Yeah.
All right, start printing your business cards now.
Yeah. Some weird networking stuff's going to happen at epoch 0.
Or at least people are going to be concerned about it, even if underlying layers actually solve this 5 or 6 years from now. This is why you start printing your business cards, because it's really easy money. So I am pretty confident that the OS level will resolve that in time, and that PowerShell will be unaffected. Hey, if I am wrong, maybe I'll be dead by then.
We got 14 years. We can figure it out.
Yeah.
IPv6.
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh man, I have a 14-year-old and it has not been a long time.
I have a 13-year-old. I feel you.
That's funny. When my kid was 14, I was thinking this has been the longest time ever.
Well,
so to go along with the epoch time, we do have Microsoft's favorite WMI time.
I don't know if that's anybody's favorite.
And so we get that fun little sucker in there. So,
but do you have WMI time intervals?
That I do not.
Okay, I'll jump on that grenade. I had to do that like a while back. They're pretty similar to cron intervals, just different enough to screw with you.
What about the one you need for AD stuff? That's like date time from file time.
Yep, that's in. Well, that's native in get date.
Yeah,
no, it's in date.
It's part of the date time class.
Yeah,
I was just curious if you had wrapped it.
I haven't. I probably should.
I mean, you do have a module called PSDates, and are setting yourself out there as you're going to be the guy for date stuff.
I'm taking notes. I was actually thinking about that one this morning when I was. So nobody noticed it, but my typo is actually in WMI.
That it's not
Yeah.
capitalized.
No, in the get date formats, it's win date time.
Yeah, I
Like,
did
I
not
need-
notice it.
Yeah, I was like, I need to add the AD time in there too.
Yeah.
So my thought as well too is to take the date time format and the get date extended and combine them together into one get date time to just give you everything.
Yeah. I also think there might be some value in smart aliasing here, like get month, giving you month by month operation, stuff like that. Maybe even a dynamic parameter or two, like get month first Wednesday. That'd be awesome. Even more awesome if I could say like get month second Wednesday in German. Just as an example language.
That is it is in process. Right. So I currently have get cron in different languages. So
cool.
I can find out. I can translate my cron time into French.
Ah. You know what's another good date time to be able to support while we're talking about the French? Is subtitle format. Subtitle format times are always in the French locale. This is one of the minor small differences between SRTs and VTT files. But SRTs are always basically a time span with commas instead of periods.
Yeah, one of the ones I've been looking at too is date time parsing. Trying to figure out all those different ones, because then you start getting into locales and all that other stuff, and it gets interesting to say the least.
You know what I'd love to see is if you're connected to a domain, it'd be neat to see what the time skew is between you and the domain controller.
Ooh, that'd be nice too. Yeah.
Another valuable thing would be to know what the time differential between you and an NTP source is.
I would also love to know the time differential between me and another person.
Oh, between you and just another machine?
No, just I know, Matthew, that you're on Central Time, right?
Yep.
If I have a little variable that has your time zone, right? You know, attached, any variable that has a time zone property, right? I'd like to be able to just snap my fingers and know the difference of time between me and that person and know what their local time is. I'm thinking of like the joy of international scheduling, because I am always having to do that math. Like, okay, you're in New Zealand. It's what day, what time there, right? And I'm often doing it for like a person at a time, basically. So.
And I know some of the places in India that I work with are on a half-hour time offset, even, which makes it even tougher to figure out.
Yeah, but if you're looking at like Active Directory information or AAD information or GitHub, you can probably derive the time zone from those 3 points, or one of those 3 points. So if I just basically say, M Dowst time zone, if I can find you on GitHub and you've got it listed on there, yeah, I don't even have to have the variable for you.
With this convert time zone, giving it this like standard time string, if you happen to be giving it a date that happens to be in daylight time, will it give you the accurate? Will it change it to daylight time because that date happens to be during daylight time, or will it give you what it would have been in standard time?
That is a really good question. I don't think I've ever tried.
There is a thing in time zones that allow you, like offsets that allow you to apply standard time or not. So there is some .NET support for doing this. Whether you're using the right bit, I don't know. But there's some stuff in Posh that has this.
Like it's stuck in standard.
Yeah, there's something that'll tell you like whether it is or isn't in the time zone period, and then you can apply it. I'll go looking.
It's fun.
Yeah.
And just to add one really, really crazy response.
Just one?
Just one?
Yeah.
There's a way to calculate moon phase too.
Yes, I saw that as I was doing the sun
Yeah.
time. So
Oh, so
so
yeah.
here's the debut of the newest function. Get sun time. So
Oh, nice.
put in your latitude and your longitude,
And
we'll tell you.
elevation. Oh, that's extra
Yeah.
special.
So yeah.
Oh, that's
So
good.
that's the fun. So this is Mount Everest.
All right.
So elevation at right 8,000 feet. So you can see there's actually about 17-minute difference. There's a whole
That's super fun.
Where
so
was this when I was
Vsauce
arguing a
has a whole
flat
video on
earther
that.
the other day?
Right, and then we can actually put it in their time zone. And so it's sun comes up 4:30 a.m. Nepal time. Goes back down.
Cool. I noticed this is a formatted object. Would you mind doing select star on this?
Yep.
I could also see this benefiting from some smart aliasing because you should be able to do sun down, sun up, or sunrise, sunset.
I want an alternate parameter set that takes like city, state, zip instead of latitude and longitude.
That'd be cool. Oy vey
So-
indeed. I was going to quickly point out, for anybody that doesn't know, get is the default verb. So you should also be able to just say sun time equals, or sun time dash latitude dash longitude, and it should just work just fine.
So it's funny you mentioned that. So there are like location APIs built into Windows. They're not very compatible with .NET Core, so did have some troubles, being able to access them. But there is free API out there from OpenStreetMap where you can put in an address and you can get back
Oh, nice.
that.
So
and-
when is it morning in
You could-
America?
You can reverse that too. You can pass in the latitude and longitude and get back the actual address.
and then you can get the sunrise and sunset.
I remember doing something like this years ago with the Google geocoding API to like convert metadata on video files from a camera that included the latitude and longitude, but I wanted to tag it with the city and like where it was
Yeah.
in the world.
Yeah, they require a key nowadays.
This is also why I wanted this function to exist and be out there in the open source PowerShell ecosystem, because like there are plenty of services you could call to get like the sunrise sunset, but you're calling a service to do that. That service might start charging, they might start rate limiting, they might just disappear one day. So having an easy, reliable function I find is way more useful. The other thing that I'm really looking forward to being able to do with this is basically make a GUI that has an actual shadow. Because if you can tell, here is your duration of day, here is the time of day, I can tell you what angle the sun would be at relative to you and the text on your screen. And thus, not just have a drop shadow, but have a drop shadow that is a sundial. Because I'm a sick person that needs help.
So
Sorry.
yeah, you do have your hour angle in there. So everything that it calculates out, I went ahead and threw in there in case you needed it.
Yeah, that is just especially nice.
Awesome.
Oh, I'm loving this. This is great.
Yeah. It's going to be a lot of fun. So, first person to make a
Have you added
PowerShell terminal sundial after this wins a prize.
Have you added a countdown feature?
No,
Like-
I've looked at that doing.
How many
Jeff
days
Hicks
till
has-
Christmas?
Yeah, Jeff Hicks had one that he had put out a couple years back. I haven't, but
That one's actually pretty easy because it's just date time subtraction. If you have
yeah,
an
I've
existing
also
date.
I've toyed around with adding like a wrapper for stopwatch too,
Yeah.
because I use stopwatch a lot.
I mean, you could also make a PS Times module, but I feel like that would get a little bit cannibalisy. Or cannibalizy. Cannibal-esque. But yeah, this is really cool. Did you make your own class to represent the sun time?
I did.
Ah. Cool.
And then I used Easy Out to format it.
Nice.
You can actually get the actual times, right? So, but then you can also just make it look somewhat readable as well.
Sweet.
So is this a GitHub project that we could possibly suggest code updates to?
Yep.
And actually
That's
write little pieces of that we
Yep.
might want to submit to?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
This is a great open source for the win here. I mean, it's a good.
Because I just saw
fundamental.
on USPS, United States Postal Service, has a thing where if you look up the zip code, it'll tell you what city and state it is, which I'm sure you can turn around and get longitude and latitude.
Yeah.
So you were
Yeah.
talking before about being able to look up a zip code and figure out what time zone it's in.
Yeah.
You could have a lot of fun with this thing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I love both the simple branding of this module and like the breadth of its functionality already. And I can see it having so much more room to grow because everybody deals with dates. Nobody likes dealing with dates. And it's very important to be able to deal with them because literally one of them happens every day. So,
So right now, your module doesn't require any third-party data, right?
Nope. It's
Okay.
It's
So
all
if you did the thing with the post office, how would you handle that? Because if like they update their API or whatnot, I mean that would break. So
yeah.
do you keep that as a separate section of your code? Do you just do a basic test before querying and just say unable to pull data, or how would you handle that?
That's a good question. That's actually something that I've been working on because, as I mentioned, I'm trying to do holidays
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and getting that data in there as because there's APIs that will return you back holidays, right? But I'm not fully sold on connecting a PowerShell module out to an API in that manner, right? Like something that is designed for a specific API, right? Like OpenAI
Yeah.
or something like that. But heading it in, I don't know. I mean, I'm open to suggestions. Basically, what I see here
I mean, I got one if you want.
in the holidays is I got all the ISO names for all the different countries and was building out some different functionality so that you could be able to put in like a date, month, week occurrences, day of the week, offset days, things like that to be able to get them. But it like again, it starts getting easy, right? And you say the first, second, third, fourth week, but then you say the last week and last full week, and
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay, so here's a high-level suggestion that has worked in a few other fronts. This can be, at least partially, a build process issue. It won't be able to be a build process issue for like finding latitude, longitude for a generic place. You'd still have to have RESTful services you could talk to there. But for a lot of RESTful services to just do initial holiday lookup, if you have like a build script that's going to go grab that data all at once, save it, I mean, that's not going to change, at least that often. So
No.
if you're only doing the build process to get the data down into a JSON or PSD1 within the module, then you're basically set.
I
So
was going to say caching it into a JSON file has worked for me.
yeah,
Or a SQLite database and attach that as part of it. But you have to have a refresh interval and somehow
Yeah.
track the version of what it's on so that if there are changes.
Well, that's the joy of it being a build process stuff, is you're basically just saying, like, at least the way I would do it with, current tools on hand. In PipeScript, I can just basically add a validate pattern to the top of a file that will only run that file when I'm checking in code with a commit message that matches the pattern. Okay? So I can basically say, run this whenever I want, right? And that saves me the build trouble of having to do it again and again and again when it's never going to change. And Git gives me the capability to get a difference and manage that difference. So if you're just basically having a build process that only runs when you essentially say update holidays and goes and feeds in that information, there you go. If you wanted to not have the validate pattern and have it update holidays on every build, there you go too. It's just, that's hitting the servers more than you need. Because the joy of dates is, well, they're not going to change that often, aside from every day.
That was my thought too, is to just open it up. Like I was going to create the structure for it, and then let somebody in, hungry enter in all the hungry holidays. Because I just trying to look up the UK bank holidays is enough to drive me mad.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, are you in Scotland? Are you in Wales? Because then it's different.
Well, and then you get into like subjective holidays, like are we, counting National Talk Like a Pirate Day? When is that anyway? I think
Should be.
it might be interesting to some people. It'd be great to have a collection of these in data form that's easy to query and work with, period. Like, not just for PowerShell. So I would say a good open-ended JSON structure of this would be fantastic.
Yep.
But one more note on it is that if you're basically thinking of that JSON structure as a splat to B, it's pretty manageable. Like if you're thinking of what's going to be in this as either a direct value or pointer to a function that you could call on PSDates, then there you go. That handles both this is the bank holiday or this tax day is only on this day, this day, this day when full moon happens.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's why I added the custom on in there.
Custom.
So there's a Python project out there that does some of this. It's not well maintained and not very accurate.
All right, well, this is our real chance as a PowerShell language. AI like drags too much bad Python in, right?
Yeah.
Fix this problem for PowerShell. Maybe AI will start cribbing from us instead.
Like the Python one that somebody made, they literally went in and typed in a function for every holiday.
Okay.
Oh, that's a bad way to do it.
I don't know if it's a bad way to do it. It's just like, do you at least inherit some of these functions? Or are they all a function written from scratch with no dependencies on anything else? That's a bad way to do it.
It looked to me like it was every single one was built into its own function. Not a lot of shared between them.
Okay. I mean, this is the joy of PowerShell. We can put that script into script file and still have, the same command and parameter embedded as if it were a function. God, I love PowerShell. Sorry.
The other new one I'm working on here is the occurrence pattern. So this is Microsoft's new scheduling thing that they built into Azure. If anybody has dealt with the new update manager in Azure,
I have not yet.
You can build out like custom schedules where you say the first, the 3 days after Patch Tuesday, go ahead and go to this group, right?
Okay.
It doesn't tell you when that date is going to be, though. There's no like, oh, your next run of this is going to occur on this date.
All right.
I reverse engineered their little pattern offset and was able to build out a function to parse it out and tell you when your next date is, your next occurrence is going to be.
Cool.
So, like I said, everybody just comes up with their own date times. So I just keep add more functions in there to be able to get
Hey.
them. But this is actually kind of what I ended up building the holiday functionality on, right? So that you get annual holiday. All right, so
Yeah.
most of them are a weekly occurrence, or based upon a week in the month, things like that, or a simple date in the month, becomes literally just day. That's not hard to calculate.
Yeah.
I have a miscellaneous module authoring question that is somewhat related to this. You had mentioned easy out, that this module was using easy out somewhere. Is it a dependency, or is it an optional dependency? And
Matt, you want to field this one first, or you want me to?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, James is the author, but what it does is it builds out your format PS1 XML for you. So it's a dependency during the build process.
Okay, so it's a build dependency, not a runtime dependency.
Yep.
Got it.
Most
Got
of the
it, got
stuff
it.
that I make, I try to make to be a build dependency, not a runtime dependency. At least
Gotcha.
unless it's the module I'm going to be using for the task at hand, then it might be a runtime dependency for a script. But most of the time, if I'm building modules, I'm not trying to make them explicitly depend on another module. I'm trying to use other modules to build them so that you can then use that module independently to build another module.
Sure.
I don't know if that clarified things or made things worse, though, as an explanation. Just connecting the Ouroboros mouth to the Ouroboros tail, you know?
But it makes building out these formats so much cleaner.
Yeah.
Easier.
Easy Out's also really good at PowerShell types. I might spin off another module for that specifically, as I've been realizing how much more overpowered types can be. But in the case of date times, types especially would be really, really valuable because you could just directly extend the .NET datetime class and start adding new stuff to it, or the datetime zone class. And that makes all of this way easier. So PSDates could literally be a set of modifications to the datetime object and a set of commands. But one thing's for damn certain, nobody, self-included, ever wants to look at this XML.
Yeah. So yeah, you can see here side by side. This is the PowerShell for easy out, and then it translates that straight over into the XML for you.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And it'll most of the time escape stuff, so you don't have to worry about that. It's a very old, very reliable, very useful module, especially for building other modules. And formatting and types are actually one of the great undersung parts of PowerShell that are really easy to adopt once you know how, but can add a lot of great functionality to your modules that, unless you're familiar with how, just kind of sucks.
So if we're throwing out recommendations, is there a reverse for easy out?
What do you mean a reverse for easy out?
So I originally built this datetime extended. I originally built out the XML by hand for it, and I rebuilt it into easy out. But
I am somewhat surprised I have not gotten around to that. I would happily take either an issue or PR on easy out. Because, yeah, I think that there's some stuff that will just let you drop it in inline, but I'm not often personally trying to take the PS1 XML that already exists and turn it into easy out. But I did do that same sort of trick for PSSVG, so it should be pretty possible. Hopefully, knocking on wood,
the
famous last words.
Most complex one, but
yeah, like at the end of the day, you can come back to me if I'm like, this sucks, and be like, hey, I implemented a sunrise equation for you, buddy. See it through. But yeah, I file an issue, I'd be happy to look into it, and if you wanted to file a PR, you're welcome to.
Sweet.
Does anybody have any insider knowledge on new release of the Platypus? Like it's the release version is so ancient at this point. And
I have a humble recommendation, which is that you go ahead and use Help Out, which I built a few years ago because I also was not liking the cadence of Platypus, or for that matter, the name. But yeah, Help Out is a few years old. I use it in most of my projects. Also, in the same way as Easy Out, as a build tool, it will generate documentation and markdown for all of your commands. And all of your types, actually.
Steve Lee said that they're rebuilding it, I believe.
I should
Like
have
from
another
from
talk
scratch.
with Steve on that, because that, I think, maybe a few PowerShell MVPs might want to have that talk with Steve. That seems like a lot of time expended for not certain value compared to helping the community. So, but hey, that's my biased 2 cents as the person that got so annoyed with Platypus's slow release cycle that I built Platypus again with a more helpful name.
I'm using.
Say what?
I'm using Platypus in here still.
Nah.
But again, I had to go through and put in, specific code to go through and fix it.
I will also take PRs and issues on Help Out. I think there have been, since it came out, it's like on version 0.047 or 4.8 at this point, which means 15 or 20 updates at least, probably closer to 40 in the past 4 years or 3 years. So, considering that Platypus has had 0 in that time, I feel pretty all right with the relative cadence.
Yeah.
This is the end of the self-promotion segment. I hope. Unless you're going to tee me up again. You were asking or saying, or somebody was asking or saying.
I think I've covered everything. That's all my funness for today.
All right. I mean, it is a very, very hot day in most of the places, tuning in. So, I don't know how much more fun all of us have in this. Do you want to, say some parting words and, sing us out and have us stop streaming and recording and then just get back into talking to his group?
Yeah, so we can, where to find me? So, recently launched a new YouTube channel where it's what I'm trying to do with this is really go deep into the creation of automations with PowerShell. So, for example, I got a series that's going now on monitoring my network, which I got my fiber installed yesterday, so I'm so happy. But before I was getting drops like crazy. So going through the test net connection, which everybody knows. I'm sorry, that command just sucks. But then the process of building that out, and then bringing in the .NET objects, running it asynchronously, what's the best way to kind of build out. And I go through that entire process in those videos to really delve into not just, hey, here's a script, here's how you do something with it. It's here's the thought process that I had behind building this to really kind of help others be able to kind of take it and then kind of run from there, right? So, I'm M Dowst on most socials. So if you hit that link tree URL or QR, the QR is just to the link tree. You'll find all my stuff out there.
Cool.
I think Discord's the only one that pings my phone. So if you need to get me,
I will definitely look at adding some stuff to that because that looks fun.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming out to the Pacific PowerShell user group virtually and talking about PS-Dates. And tune in every second Wednesday of any given month to, learn some fun PowerShell. And bye-bye regular internet. We're stopping streaming now.